Welcome back to the Money Hill, your number one Call of Duty podcast with a betting focus, taking you through all the matches and majors of the 2022 CDL season. My name, of course, is Scoots. I'm back with Nikita and Big Money Blivs, Chris Blivin. How are we doing today, boys? This is our first episode that is getting uploaded to YouTube with video. It is wonderful to see your faces, and I am overwhelmingly excited, but I'll let you guys speak a little bit.
Look, we've been doing some testing. We're on a new platform, trying our stuff out. So we'll see how it goes. This might be the first and last time that we're ever on video.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if we're made for video. Definitely something with our faces on, but
definitely a face for radio, as they say.
Yeah, exactly. We have the face for radio. We have the habits for radio.
Podcasting in our case.
There's a lot of stuff there that I think, but onwards and upwards. Some people, I think, have given us what they felt like was good, heartfelt advice, and it's probably going to, crash and burn. But it's nice. Nice.
A big shout out to Riverside FM. It's a pretty clean platform. It's the one we're using today. Looks pretty good across the board.
No unpaid
there's some
shout
fun
outs,
stuff in here to play with.
Unpaid shout outs.
Listen.
Make you look.
If it turns into a paid shout out, it's fine. Okay, and it, maybe it will. Who knows? Of course, another week of Call of Duty. That's what we're here to talk about. We're not here to talk about how ugly we look on camera or whatever you guys want to say about yourselves. I mean, I know
Scotty, Riverside doesn't make you look any better.
I'm a good-looking guy.
Yeah.
It unfortunately it does.
I know there's a laugh track and a soundtrack on the platform.
Oh, it'll come out.
But unfortunately, there's no filters.
I am literally seconds away from clicking it, and I just need to be stopped. I can't be the one producing this. But listen, another week of Call of Duty, week 2 of qualifiers for Major 2, the Minnesota ROKKR Major, taking place in, of course, Minnesota. Guys, where do we want to start? I feel like we start with the same team every week, so why not Optic Texas, stay the course, dominate?
I want to talk about both top teams.
Yeah,
because it's not just Optic that's tied for first. It's and 3-0. It's also Boston Breach, which is
unbelievable.
And I was looking at their schedule. I do think, look, they faced off against the ROKKR, the Surge, and Ultra. So all of those are teams that are outside of the top 5. So, it does seem like they've had an easier schedule that has allowed them to, outside of top 6, by the way, outside top 6. So literally 7th place team and 10th place team and the 8th place team. And you just kind of go, well, okay, but are they legit?
I think this is what we talked about last week, right? They're overwhelmingly consistent at 2 game modes. And it's something that Chris and I talked about before you were able to join in the studio before the show.
The studio.
But they play
now. Look at this.
That's what it's called. They play hardpoint and search and destroy very well, among top 6. I would say I think it's 3 and 4 for both of those game modes.
5th and 4th.
And their control is dead last.
Respectively.
Sorry, 5th and 4th, respectively.
Dead last.
Their control is dead last.
But does control matter?
Honestly startling. Yes, it matters. I will make a case for this, especially when you're playing better teams. And that is something to talk about when you said they have. Matter. Well, the game mode is, maybe a little busted, but there are changes coming soon. So we'll see if those work themselves out. But I do like how consistent they are in search and destroy and hardpoint, and it lends them to beating teams that they should consistently, as is kind of the theme of talking about the Boston Breach for the past 2 weeks.
Yeah.
The young kids have stepped up across the board. Capsule and Nero look really good. Capsule especially, I think, has absolutely been frying. Tej looks a lot better than he did back in Modern Warfare and for a time in Cold War. And then Methods has absolutely found his stride. I think he went on 2 different 9 streaks against Minnesota ROKKR, I believe.
He had a very chill plus 20 on the KD.
Yeah, it was a pretty insane Berlin hardpoint from him. Really fun to watch. Also really great to see him fry because he's great for content. Great dude across the board. At least that's how he comes across, and it's cool to see. But I like him. I'm a big Breach guy. Maybe
great
I'm
logo.
Partial to teams that are green and black, but
yeah, well, you've been saying that from the beginning.
Logo.
Very consistent like them.
You are consistent in your beliefs, which sometimes lends itself to being a problem. And where would that be a problem, Chris?
I don't know. Niki, did you want to say something before we discuss the elephant in the room?
If we're diving into the trash, I've got I want to say that whatever we fling at the Toronto Ultra not being top four, I can't say the fucking LA Thieves are top four either.
Yeah.
So we have
Well,
my argument for this week was, Ultra went 0-2 and the Thieves went 0-1, and losing one game is better than losing two games.
That's true.
Ergo,
that is true. Yeah.
So
that is true.
that's about all I have to defend.
But who did Thieves lose to, and in what manner did they lose? Because it was like, listen, we said last week, I believe the quote was somewhere along the lines of, if they lose next week to Minnesota ROKKR, we're looking at a team that's probably in trouble. And I personally said, listen, Thieves -1.5 looks pretty good.
Yeah.
It did for the first two maps, and the wheels absolutely fell off the wagon.
Thing. Is
it was unbelievable.
It's a reverse sweep, and they lost to Optic, and that's fine, 3-2. But then a reverse sweep to ROKKR is like, this is the weird thing about the team. It's like they should have won that 3-0 or 3-1, without a doubt. And it was on track. It's like and that's the whole thing with the Thieves. It seems to be. It's like, hey, we're on track to being a top 4 team, and then it's like, whoops, we're top 8.
Well, I mean, now they're 0-3 this stage, so
it's rough.
Maybe not on track to being a top 4 team anymore as well. That's the big
thing.
issue.
But there's been 2 3-2s, which is
rails.
A weird kind of like.
But 3-2s against teams that are inferior. Or should be inferior.
Well, no, Optic
should be inferior.
Optic was one of the 3-2s.
Well, yeah, Optic's obviously the best.
So
Optic
Optic
right now,
then go to 3-2 with
clear.
Optic makes sense.
Yep.
The 3-2 to ROKKR, I'm like, what the fuck just happened?
When you were up 2-0.
Yeah, exactly.
And I will say that the thing is, once it got to map 5, I'm watching this entire series live, and they were done. Like,
map 5
wasn't close.
Map 5 was a wrap.
Map 5 was washed. That series was
3,
over.
Map 3 was pretty close. I think wasn't that a 3 on Control?
3-2.
3-2, but they never really looked like they had the map at all. It didn't. But it didn't look like Thieves' map.
It wasn't a quick 3-0. Is what I'm saying. Like they kind of, you can see that it's like there's something there, like they're almost winning. So at least it's not like, hey, they're getting destroyed like subliners. But I am a little bit like, what the fuck is going on here?
But by the way, as much as we love just shitting all over the subliners, and do we enjoy that, we do have to say that I think that we have to just make sure that we're giving Paris Legion their respect and their due for just being the absolute bottom of the barrel, the shittiest of the shit.
This is literally what I had in my notes is welcome back to being the worst team in the league again.
Let's not disrespect them by saying that subliners are worse.
Yeah.
Listen, they put in slightly more effort this time around and actually added some players, but unfortunately, they got worked.
I think
honestly,
Paris would actually try and field a 2 or 3 man roster if they could. If they could cut their budget in half and be like, yeah, we're just playing 2 players. I think they'd be like, yeah,
John and Jimbo, Double J, the Double J attack. Yeah, we're just playing with 2. If they pulled off a series that way, you know, you'd be hearing about it on land. It's just 2 guys on the other side of the stage. They're partially homeless because they play for the Legion.
Both using 2 controllers, so it's like what they run in, they swap to the other one.
It's like how I tried to play foosball.
Yeah.
If Legion could pay their players substitute teacher salaries, they absolutely would, and we know that.
How do we get? Who buys them?
Too clear.
Do we get Team BDS to come in and buy them?
Shut up about BDS. They don't need another shitty team in another league. Listen, my call is Cloud9, hopefully, but we're not there yet. We'll cover that in the offseason when that time comes, or a mid-season acquisition if we're feeling tricky. Yeah. Chris, you went straight to the subliners, avoiding the topic of Toronto Ultra, who also had a terrible weekend and went 0-2. And let's just define this 0-2 because they got worked in hardpoint with 100-point leads twice. I don't know how that happens. I'll tell you what. I was in Discord. I'm talking about this match as it happens live, and I'm like, okay, it's gonna happen again. Like they're playing FaZe. It's map 4. I'm like, there's no way this happens again. Like it already happened to Breach once this weekend. You'd assume that somebody said something. They're like, oh, we should probably figure out this problem that happened against a team that's worse than Atlanta FaZe. 100-point lead. All right, probably over. and then Simp is in the next hill somehow. They have the rotation. Simp's just in the next hill. Literally second later. I'm
the
like,
chat
so
in the Discord,
what's wrong with the
chat in the
positioning?
Discord
Like,
was great because I'm trying to remember who said it. But someone was like, "Oh, it looks like they sorted out their problems," and it was like, "Oh, wait, no, spoke too soon," and then it's just like,
it doesn't make any sense. And then also, now we're getting to this point where like you hit map 5, and that's been your bread and butter all year is to win 2, 3, 5, right? They're not winning those either. So like 2 3-2 losses, very concerning. Search and destroy
not
map
against
5
like
didn't
the
look
number
good. I think
one
it's
and
double
number two
6-2.
team. So it's not even,
Chris, is it time to start worrying as the ultra supporter on the podcast and talking to two guys who have been fading them all year, rightfully so?
Yeah.
Look, multiple things to be concerned about. First off, it happened on 2 different maps. The 100 flip. It happened on Bocage and it happened on Tuscan. So that's like
Bocage is tough.
That's tough to do. And so like
that is
let alone did it if it would have happened twice on the same map, I would have been like, okay, maybe it's like a map thing or whatever. But the fact that it happened twice on 2 different maps, concerning. Then on top of that, game 4 on Gitavu or Gavutu, my brain's not working. Clearly, I'm just like really emotionally worked up on this. They get 100 pointed. Like they just like completely collapsed.
Yeah, they got worked.
Embarrassing. And then you win fucking 6-2 on Search and Destroy. And by the way, I'm just running through Boston Breach. I'll get to the phase matchup. But you win 6-2, and then you get fucking smoked in map 5, 2-6. Like that was right after being 100 clapped too. So like that's just like, to me, that's just like you got mentally broke on that hard point, and you guys are just a fucking shell. Like I think that, to me, this is like so clear. And of course, once it happened against FaZe on map fucking 4, you knew that they weren't going to win 5. Like this is now like it is their kryptonite in a way that is now affecting even their like they're able to maintain, game 2, game 3. They're fucking unstoppable on control. They're unstoppable on Search and Destroy for map 2. But this is the hardpoint thing. I think is just now mental. I think that's what it is, right? It's no longer technical. It's no longer even necessarily strategy.
I feel like it's pretty technical.
To me, this is a mental issue. That it's like they need to see a fucking sports psychologist about this and start figuring out how to get this demon off their back.
Listen, I don't disagree that some of it probably is mental, but there is something in the cards with positioning to just like see FaZe players just seep through your defense somehow and just be in that. Like it doesn't make any. This can't happen. Like you cannot have a 100-point lead. And I understand there are circumstances where like we saw Optic have it happen last year where they would have a fat lead and then it would hit this point where you decide whether you're going to go for garbage time to win the game on like a bunch of different hills or like you're just going to rotate to next and try to hold it down. And then once you get caught in this cycle of like not making the right decision, you just get in your own head and lose that map. But now it happened twice in a weekend. On top of that, they've already been bad at hardpoint. Like, where does it end? And at points it looked better for sure. But like, I don't even know what to say.
Scoot, tell me, you might know more, or Niki, tell me more about this. But Band's just not playing well across the board in both matches. And so, like, is this something where maybe they need to bring in a little free agent out there just to like shake things up? I'm not suggesting for a permanent replacement, but could we put maybe a Clayster in here for like a week just to see how some senior leadership might do to get the hard points clicking?
I mean, Havoc's available.
It wouldn't be a free agent,
Havoc's available,
first of all. Well, yeah, Havoc's very available, especially after what happened last week.
They got to change something up.
I respect the decision, first of all, on Havoc's end. But no, they have Hixie on the bench who they would bring in.
I think you have to shake something up for a week.
I mean, they look decent with him when
I
they had him in
think
there.
It's a bit of a weird one. I'm actually a bit split because I think the team worked so well last year, and
they'll be fine this year.
Major.
They'll be fine this year. They won the fucking kickoff challenge or whatever it's called.
So what happens? Like, is this
the kick around club game?
Like, the thing is they have such a clear weakness, and that like Optic last year, I had no idea. Like they just would play incredibly and then suddenly crumble. And I think that's very hard to diagnose when you don't have that clear weakness.
Right, but
This is a very clear one. So can you bring in an analyst or a coach that specializes in hardpoint? And then if you fix that, does the team suddenly become a fifth place team? Cue laugh track. Cue laugh track. Cue laugh track. Thank you.
Right on time.
Right on time. Impeccable timing. So I'm a little bit hesitant to just write them off just yet. I do think you kind of, but you need to do something to really fix this hard point issue. Like you can't just be like, okay, players, like if I'm the org, I'm like, no, I'm bringing someone in to specialize in this and to help you guys with it, and you now need to fix it like this week or during the major, and if you don't, then a change happens.
But that's my point. That's my point. I think like, well, we have one more week before the tournament, the major two. I think now is the perfect time to fucking throw someone in there, shake some shit up, see how the boys respond, and get like, look, whatever they're doing right now, you have to fucking change.
The other problem here is that teams are going to catch up to them in Search and Destroy. It's just going to happen. Like
you're seeing
it. You're
seeing it on the fucking map 5.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
they're not just losing 6-5 or 6-5. They're kind of getting fucking worked.
Yeah.
Some teams don't have ice like accuracy. Or Major Maniac, who, by the way, is absolutely final when you get to Game 5. That man is nasty.
I don't know what to. Honestly, this team, I just kind of have like, I have no read. I'm like, are they really good or are they not? Are they bad? What?
No, they're not really good. Like, let's be clear. I mean, it's definitive. Like, oh, ROKKR?
Yeah. Who do you think I was talking about?
ROKKR's bottom half of the table right now. I thought you were talking about Ultra. I don't think Ultra is good.
I think Ultra is
fine.
I've
said this since day one. I've been right here.
No, but like,
you're overreacting.
This is what I mean. You say
you're
not
overreacting.
Good. Okay. Am I? They're 1-2 this stage.
Look, the ROKKR is 2-2 also, and
they're still based on
like you said, Major Maniac.
But we also talked about
very advanced metrics that we all believe in. They're still a top 4 team.
Yes, but listen, we talked about the fact that teams in their pools to get to a major are set up to be in a winner's bracket, which is a slight conspiracy from our Discord. Shout out Robert.
Totally believe it.
But I kind of believe it, and it totally makes sense to do that. It's just good for the league. I mean, it's good for the league, good for the home major.
It also means that suddenly you have a team like Boston Breach who's sitting at the top of the pack, and you don't know. Is this legit? Is this not legit? And I think that makes like the storyline going into the major very exciting. I have one question I really want to hear your guys' take on right now, and that's between Ravens and FaZe. London Royal Ravens and FaZe.
FaZe got on the map.
We saw them FaZe got an easy kind of like 3-1 on the Ravens. Is that actually because FaZe is that much better? Is it because Ravens have a player coming back who just had a personal issue? He might be jet lagged. Like, what do we, prior to this, I would have said Ravens are second best team. Now I'm like, are they actually third?
I honestly, like, gameplay aside, it just looked like FaZe actually wanted to win again. Like the way they played that was the way that Atlanta FaZe has played for the past 2 years, especially last year. Like when they would lose a series, they'd come out and fry people. And it seemed like this was a defining moment for them to put themselves back in the number 2 conversation, which is where they were for the major, of course, because they ended up in the best of 9 with Optic. But like where they could dominate, they did, and it didn't stop. And like if you look at the stats, of course, Simp showed up and he was, I think, MVP for every single map across the board in that series. It was huge. Like an unbelievable performance. But like they just looked like they outclassed him across the board. I mean, I knew it was over
for the first map on the hard point.
You open like one of the maps. It's Gavutu hardpoint. You open with Celium tossing a nade and getting a double kill because he's such a nerd that he just knows the nade spots. It's just like I knew the map was over right when that happened. And
I think you're overlooking.
It's the first 10 seconds of the game.
University's impact on that matchup.
Actually, I love Arcity's on that team has been such an incredible addition and pickup, and he's not like
I agree.
He would not have been the player now it's easy to look back and be like, easy pickup. But I don't think that was a clear pickup. I remember when they picked him up and I was like,
Bro, what?
well, look, I thought Arcides was playing great and so on, but FaZe at the time was, no, but you got to we're coming off of Modern Warfare. FaZe at the time was doing great.
Yep.
Arcides is coming from an optic that did okay. Like,
Yep.
did they come third, I think, in the championship? And so it was like,
Yeah, but FaZe had two very clear weak points, and moving into a game where you have four people,
not at all
like you have
disagree.
to add in
What
a
I'm
fourth.
saying is, like, what a phenomenal decision. I'm
Yeah.
just saying that,
Oh,
like,
yeah,
it is,
absolutely.
it has, and I don't think it's a one-way thing. I think the impact of bringing him on board has elevated everyone across the team. Arcides is playing so well. FaZe and the rest of the players are playing so well, and I'm just like across the board. I'm like that pickup is probably the most impactful roster move that we've seen in the last 2 years.
I mean, besides Optic acquiring half of Dallas's team from the
Sure,
prior
but
year, yeah,
look,
I
have
would
they
say
won a
so.
major yet? Have they won? Sorry, not major. Have they won a
They
championship?
just won
Have they won a
leadership.
championship?
No, we'll see.
Have they won
They've
four
won
out
it.
of five
They've won.
majors?
They've won every major that they've entered together.
Yes,
That's also
100%
true.
success rate. Like so,
So,
it's truly.
so
All right,
until they
other
lose, I don't
teams.
know.
I mean,
I'm kind of riding on that side.
No, I think they delivered and it's looking good. But I'm just saying that for me, the FaZe and Arcides combination, we're looking like two titles now.
Look, I'm
where they're
right here
potentially-
telling you, Arcides,
so.
I feel like is the unspoken kind of rock and hero of
Mhm.
that team. Very often, it's very easy
Yeah.
to keep talking about Abizi and Simp and even Celium.
Yes.
But Arcides,
Yeah.
I think sometimes doesn't get quite the love that is deserved. He's not as
That's
he's
fair.
not, he's not
I
as
think- listen,
flamboyant
just
of a personality. He's kind of a bit low key.
Agreed, but also just kind of take us out of Atlanta FaZe. I think like the most encouraging thing I saw all weekend was them clutch a map 5, because after what happened against Surge, you don't want to see that happen again, especially for a team that good. So clearly they got in the lab, worked on it. That was big. What other teams
There's
are
only
out there
one
that you
last
guys want
team
to
I
talk
think
about?
I want
feel
to
like
touch it. Like I would just, and this is a very quick one. Mutineers sitting in 4th place,
5th place.
so yeah.
tied for 4th.
I mean, they got smoked by
No?
Optic, but like it's Optic. They didn't look terrible. There were flashes of like them and Surge both this weekend against Optic had flashes where it was, hey, we can be good for a little bit, but then Optic just
Is
clutches
this just
up. Like the
classic
team that
Mutineers
Optic
where
has
they're
just
like
clutches.
kind of good but kind of bad?
Are you getting baited? I mean, did they just lose this weekend? Should you bet on them next weekend? Yeah, the answer is yes. Whatever they do one weekend, they will do the opposite the next.
I do think. Look, it's really hard for me to analyze that game. If they had played literally anyone else other than Optic, I would be right here ready to tell you, which we said last week. This team has you right where they want. They want you thinking they're good, and they're going to absolutely blow it. Getting 3-0'd is a bit disappointing, but again, like I'm not going to hold too many people. I'm not going to rate too many coals over the team that's number 2 in both Hardpoint and S&D and number 1 by a long shot in Control. Like they're going to 3-0 a lot of people, regardless of how good you are. So I'm not going to give them too much shit. Would I have liked Florida to win one of those matches? Like, of course. Yeah, like who wouldn't? They're kind of like this team that's like flat across the board. Like right now, they're 6th in Hardpoint, they're 6th in S&D, and they're 6th in Control. Like they're literally as even as you can be. Now that does them some good, and it helps them kind of jockey the rankings, right? Like they're going to be consistent to a degree. At the other side, they can like have great games, they'll have fucking terrible games. And so, if you take the average of a fucking crazy ass line, you're going to still get an even keel thing, and that's not what you want. So I am yet to be sold on a team like Florida, but I'm not going to write them off because they got 3-0'd by Optic.
But that's also like the same way I view LAG, and this is what I have in my notes, is that they're kind of the same team. Like it's just this over and over again until you get this. And like I don't exactly know what to make of these teams. I think this weekend's going to tell a lot of the story, so I'm looking forward to that.
I think my issue with LAG,
kinda,
honestly, though, and to me, there's a big difference between Mutineers, is that Mutineers played Optic, and LAG's biggest competition has been the Mutineers, and they got 3-0'd.
Yeah, probably true.
So they're the same team, except one team 3-0'd the other one.
Well,
so
listen, it's like a day. It's just day to day. That's the problem.
They 3-1 Seattle. I feel like that's a really, really good win. Like Seattle was a team that we were thinking was like a
Seattle's crashing and burning terribly.
Oh, they're not.
Agreed.
So bad. Didn't they just beat FaZe like a week ago?
Yeah,
but that was the only.
Yeah, they literally won. They beat FaZe a week ago.
But that's the only win that they have had.
Now you're cherry picking wins?
No. As in,
they lost to the unbeatable Breach. Okay, great. So that's an okay loss.
Unbeatable
Breach.
They're unbelievable. You're on board now. Everybody's top 6. Don't forget that.
A good FaZe team, and then now they.
That was an accident, to be honest.
They lost to the best team in the game, Optic, and then they just lost to LAG. I think LAG, if you do the whole workaround, LAG is better than FaZe.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Logic is undeniable.
Thank you.
No, the last thing, just to throw it out there, of course, NYSL, we kind of touched on it. They had Paul X. He looks really good. I think, honestly, the biggest thing for me there was that Neptune looked a lot more comfortable playing the game and also put up a lot better stats. And it is good for them looking forward, and that will justify my pick headed into this weekend. Just to be clear here, we've got a little intel drop coming up, unless you guys have anything else you want to recap, of course.
No,
I think we've covered it all pretty much for the most part. There are some changes coming our way to the Call of Duty League. Ooh. So we've got some balancing in Search and Destroy with the spawns, and I believe a bomb site on Bocage. It's been moved outside, which is honestly a pretty big change if you really think about it. Aim assist has also been fixed, so that's kind of a big thing. And then
who's
are more
aim
kind
is
of touching
be the most significantly altered by that? Probably Octane, right?
Anybody who's bad.
Octane?
Huh? Oh, you better hope so. No, I think these are more kind of along the lines of CDL growth and just things looking up. But I don't know if you guys caught the replay feature that they've added recently. I thought it was pretty sick.
Pretty nice.
Came into play when Arcides naded the bomb against Toronto Ultra. Absolutely sick clip. He threw it off a wall. It was a dime right on the planter. Dope scenes. And then finally, I think it's very cool that Minnesota is having an open bracket for challengers to decide who plays at the Pro-Am later in the season. And I think that's just big for the growth of the CDL. You need challengers players. They've clearly proven themselves this year.
Every time we get a challenger player, they beat out half the people up there.
Exactly. That is kind of my point going forward. But with that being said, of course, we're hopping straight into First Blood, baby. Let's talk about it. Picks of the week. What do you guys have? Listen, I've got a lot of underdog value this week. I think across the board, it looks very, very good on my little notepad here. But I'll dish it over to you guys.
I think, honestly,
what are we
the best bet you could take right now is taking a Paris Legion 5.0 over a Ultra that hasn't been able to win a match in 2 games. So they're on an 0-2 losing streak. They are getting crushed in game 5s, according to Mr. BNB over here. I was going to cut them a lot of slack. He's saying the roster's falling apart. They need to swap someone over. This is the time that Legion gets their first win. 5-0 up.
GMB.
Beware of the honeymoon phase for the I'm calling it now. I'm calling my shot. There's going to be a roster change for Ultra ahead of this week.
Okay, that's
they're
going
to shake things up. I'm telling you.
They're not making a change. I'll literally tell you right now. I will bet you money.
In a player.
Okay, well, that's not going to happen. But on the back of what Niki just said, interestingly
that is not
enough,
your first fucking blood.
It's one of them. I've got a lot here. I actually don't have much for the
have a real fucking first blood.
I think we've got some good value on some underdogs that I believe are first bloods. Personally, listen, Legion gets reverse swept more than anyone.
Ooh.
Which also means that they win map 1 a lot, which Ultra are not very good at, to be clear. So you can get Paris Legion map 1 at 3.1 odds, and honestly, I think there's a lot of value there. To be very transparent, I'm not even kidding. Like, I think Legion can easily take map 1. I don't think they'll win the series because they fall apart by map 3 every single time. I don't know what happens, but I think there's value. 3.1 odds, Legion map 1, first game of the weekend. Worth talking about.
This is a team that is dead last in hardpoint.
Yeah. Playing
against Paris.
The worst hardpoint team of all time.
My point exactly. Or you take Bears map 3. It's a little iffy because Toronto's actually
for
fucking
real,
because
we put too much time into this. So I am gonna say I have Boston Breach as an underdog against Mutineers at 1.92. Yep. I think that is incredible odds because we just talked about how Mutineers are solid across the board. I actually think Boston Breach is just a better
odds?
version of the Mutineers. 1.92.
I have 1.89, so I like yours better.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's because my number is bigger than his number. So that's why. Welcome to this podcast for Big Brain Analysis.
You are actually stealing my first blood. I was going to do Boston Breach over 4 Mutineers as well. I think that to me is a real match that will have a lot of insight into what we expect from these two teams going forward.
You've gone from an absolute non-believer in the Breach, besides the logo, after telling you that they're better than Toronto Ultra, to now, it's Breach money line moving forward.
I think Florida, there was also a question of are they better than Royal Ravens? Because I have them at a 2.14.
Why don't you just keep stealing more of my bloods?
So are we gonna? I mean, listen, Breach, I think great weekend to add value wise. 1.92 against Florida, you already touched on it, and then 2.14 against London, which you just said as well.
I have 2.04.
They are consistent, and that is something that you can't discount. Now, you can guarantee that they're going to lose control. Yeah. But if they're playing a 4-game series, they just need to take 3 out of 4, and they are damn near consistent in those 2-game modes. So, damn near the most consistent besides probably
London represents their biggest challenge. But if they're legitimately a top half of the bracket team, they should be able to compete against London. And then 2, I think London's actually quite a nice... I just said, it's okay, so you have Optic, you have FaZe. Is London in 3rd, maybe 4th place? And it's they're a good litmus test for how good is the Breach really. And I think 2.14 is generous enough that I'm actually, you know what? I think I'm willing to take this bet. Risk a little cheddar.
Completely.
You know what bet I want to risk a little cheddar on?
Which bet is that?
Seattle Surge moneyline versus LA Thieves at 2.23.
Yeah.
I'm concerned about the Thieves.
I'm actually going to counter with an offer of my own, which is LAG moneyline versus LA Thieves at 2.78 odds. I think both teams have a very similar chance of winning this game. So take them both. And you're getting better money on LAG. I'm just taking the better value.
I feel like I'm a trader to the Thieves, but both of these I actually think are really good value. Ship. I think Thieves are supposed to be the better team, but they're not playing like it. And this sort of these odds are just too good to pass up.
Yep.
And especially if Thieves keep on doing things like they were, where it's going up 2-0 and then tanking miserably.
This is very similar to how we viewed Optic the last 2 years in games. Yeah. So there might be some trend 100% right now to watch.
So I definitely could see them. I mean, they're going to want to go 2-0 this weekend, but 2.78 is phenomenal odds. And okay, I think unfortunately Surge I've given up a little bit on. I was really excited, and I think they just keep looking worse and worse. But apart from that one win against FaZe, but if we get a resurgence, I'm all in.
Okay.
Well,
oh my god! Come on.
If Surge starts playing,
no. You just said resurgence.
That was actually I didn't mean to.
And you didn't even catch it. You didn't even know. Dude. Oh, that's so
you didn't catch it either.
Hold on.
That would have been great.
Wait. I want to throw this over to Chris because he had the whole Optic Texas plus 1.5 thing last weekend. They actually did clearly announce on social media that they are going to be testing maps this weekend. And they did not last weekend against Florida. They played a decent amount of Tuscan, I think, as well as against Surge. So they just kind of smoked them. But there's there's going to be some experimentation there for
Sorry,
Optic.
So what you're saying?
I'm not fading Optic by
They
no
did
means.
Mikaj, Berlin, and
odds.
Tuscan last week.
I don't have the odds
But I
against
think if
Gorillas.
they for Optic, I do not either, but I think they're going to run into a little trouble against FaZe if they try to do that.
I don't think they'll do it against FaZe.
But at the same time,
I think they'll.
I think they will.
You think they'll test against FaZe?
If they're in the upper bracket, they'll do it against FaZe.
Oh,
100%.
so long as they lock in. Yeah, okay, I agree with that.
Like they should be guaranteed to be in the upper bracket already. I'm pretty sure they are, but so long as it's guaranteed, I think they'll do it against FaZe. Like FaZe did it against them at points. I'm pretty sure last year
because they're experimenting. I don't think they'll fuck around against FaZe.
I don't think that.
No, I think they'll go in to win it
either way.
I actually, I don't think there's any worry on that team. They're literally just trying to get better.
We've already locked in upper bracket. We don't care if we're 1 to 6. Who cares? You guys
go ahead.
Scoot, I'm piling onto your LAG versus LA Thieves map. If what you say is true and you think LAG is going to win, they're absolutely going to have to win map 3, and I think it's by far their best map that they can beat the LA Thieves on. It's one of LA Thieves' weaker maps, and it pairs well with the LAG's kind of one of their better maps from a ranking perspective.
Yep.
You can get LAG at 1.99, basically 2.0 for map 3, and so to me that is a bet I also very much like.
That is pretty sweet, sir. I like that value from you. Personally,
Yep.
for me, the one that actually stands out across the weekend, and I actually think the best value maybe of the entire weekend besides Breach beating Florida and Breach beating London is New York Subliners to beat Minnesota ROKKR at 2.48 odds. And I think it hasn't kicked in yet that this team is actually pretty decent now with Paul X, and also Paul X's controller was not overclocked last weekend, so any bad performances can be blamed on that. But he was still solid even in that situation, and I said it earlier, but Neptune looked a lot better. The whole team looked more comfortable. When they did listen-ins, it sounded just so much better. The vibes were there. These guys
happy.
wanted to win.
They didn't have,
and I think they get scary against the Minnesota.
Yeah. I completely agree.
I'm in for that. I'm in for them to be good.
I'm ready. Is there a world where they beat Ultra? Honest to God.
Probably. And it's probably
at
this
2.94.
Oh, wait. It's later in the weekend. I mean, listen, Ultra is 1-2 this stage. And if New York looks good in hardpoint, it starts to get pretty tricky. But, I mean, they're going to look good in hardpoint against a team that's not very good at hardpoint.
I don't have those odds. That's annoying.
I do. It's at the bottom of my page. I'm seeing New York Subliners at 2.7 odds, which I don't really love for the value,
I have
to be honest. Because who knows how much they've actually adjusted, but it becomes... If you push that over 3, I think we go for it.
You know what? They must have just updated it because I just refreshed and got it. Ooh, I love 2.94.
For New York? I mean, they are a 2-win team right now. They did look better.
A lot of times when we're talking about these things, it's I'm looking at individual talent and how they're clicking them. On the most recent one, I'm oh, Subliners. I did think the Subliners would be good at the start of the year, though. So I obviously I was bullish on that team.
They're still
that's my point. So if it works, then I could totally see it.
Just wait. As I said, they're going to do a sub for this weekend. It'll be a new guy. They'll have some fucking super dope little honeymoon phase. They're going to go 3-0-3-0 this weekend. 6-0 across the weekend.
What are the odds on that one?
Do you want to save that for deep flank?
What are the odds on that?
Those odds out. Yeah, that beauty.
Are we ready for deep flank?
They're not going 6-0.
Ready for deep flank?
I am ready for a deep flank, Chris. So be our Vivid and hit the flank, baby. Or Shotzi. I mean, he's been doing it a lot recently. Those routes are
9.08 for that -2.5 both for Ultra against both matches. They're playing the two.
I'm out on that, but I'll
teams.
tell you.
I mean, this is the two worst.
I'll tell you what I'm in on. Listen, Breach 2-0 weekend at 4.11 odds is we like that.
Was going to be my
we like
one.
That a lot.
I actually really do like that. I was going to say that if you throw in Thieves absolutely collapsing, we've got 0-2. with a breach 2-0 weekend, you get 26.96.
Would you ever have expected Thieves to have an 0-5 stage?
No.
Like, or them to be in a position to do it? Because now we're there.
No, I don't think so. And to be fair,
scary.
Like, we're going more realistic, and you get rid of Surge, which is the one I would take out. You're still getting 11.42.
Also, interestingly enough, I'm getting a Challengers Elite match on here.
Yeah, so am I.
Listen, hammer ROKKR Academy, because ROKKR picked up the best team in Spain, and they're like actually gross.
Okay.
So
I got
1.86 odds
ROKKR
there.
Academy
Yeah,
against,
very
and
good
the best
odds.
thing is it's against Ultra Academy. We know the whole organization of Ultra is just. The bad thing
the whole team might be down there by the weekend. So
is that, Chris, you're not even. You're so disappointed in Ultra that you're not even really fighting back this week. You're kind of like, yeah.
It is really disappointing to see you completely deflated.
Yeah.
Like, I needed some more fire from you, some more hot takes, and I just did not get them. And
just
honestly, maybe that means that Ultra's about to be good again.
Maybe there's just like not a lot for me to fight you guys on this week. Like I can't defend
they
these.
haven't given you much to fight
I can't
for.
defend these guys.
I think, listen, big match of the weekend. We can round it off here, but Optic Texas versus Atlanta FaZe. What do we think's going down there? Obviously, you know what I'm going to do already. It's got to be Optic money line at 1.87. It's going to be the best odds you get for them all year.
But you just said that they're going to be fucking trying shit.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't
you really
matter.
Don't think it
I
matters.
actually think that we
are so
by the way,
good.
We have back-to-back matches. So we have Ravens versus Breach, which I would say right now third and fourth best teams, against Texas versus FaZe, which are first and second best place teams. So, that's going to reset the tone for where some of like the best teams going into the major and where we see them shaking up. I'm actually leaning towards FaZe. I think FaZe. I
am too.
From what you're saying, FaZe won a win. They looked really good. Things are clicking for them. And I do think that maybe Optic does try a couple of new things against them. Everything is kind of.
But it's not like they're not practicing these things. Like when they got 6-0'd on Dedrick Sheets, they had been playing it really well in scrims. It's just a matter of making that happen.
No, but that's what I mean.
match.
No. I'm not debating that, but I'm saying that like there is, I think, a team like FaZe. If you said it's like a straight up match, standard as it goes,
yep.
I probably lean Optic.
100%.
But if I'm saying that FaZe is trying to play the clean, well-known way, and they've just been like hammering that against an Optic that is trying to figure out, can they break something or is it not going to work and stuff like that, I think I give a little bit of the edge to FaZe. And I just think the momentum's there on FaZe. FaZe really wants to win.
FaZe
Optic's
needs this.
In top bracket.
FaZe needs this from a psychology. Like they've now gotten beat twice by Optic, spanked in a reverse sweep, and then fucking 9-4 or whatever it was, or their best of 9. So FaZe is 5-2. FaZe is at a place where they are coming into this being like, fuck these guys.
Listen, man, sometimes you just have a boogeyman, though, like Optic did with Toronto Ultra last year. So, like, who knows if that's just the case?
It's way too early to
FaZe could be London.
Way too early to say that.
100% way too early. But you know what? It's always way too early to say something. And if you're the first person to say it, you were way early. So, and nobody's going to question you afterwards.
I think the value here,
fine.
unquestionably, is on FaZe. But it's a dead even match.
It's definitely not on FaZe. I mean, like, they're even odds, and Optic is the best team in the game.
Optic is the number one place team, and I have them as underdogs. How do you have?
Slight underdogs.
Actually, a slight favorites, but
I think that comes off the tweets, honestly, like low-key.
For Optic and 1.85 for FaZe.
Mine's inverted: 1.87 or 1.88 and 1.86.
Okay,
huge value on FaZe.
I feel like this is maybe a week where we can chalk Cracked and Whack, because I think a lot of things are going to get decided this week in terms of where teams stand.
Is Ultra in their hard points.
Okay, fair enough. Listen, you can have that because that's your favorite team right
Yeah,
now.
exactly.
That's the
That's
best
why-
part.
I'm watching. I want to
I'm
see.
watching
I want to
Thieves.
see Breach. I'm.
Oh, I think Breach is crack. I'm putting Breach in the crack category. I put Thieves on the back end of
and
that because Thieves and Breach are in opposite positions
Yes.
to where they should be.
Yes, exactly.
Or are projected to be at the beginning of the year. Yeah. I mean, maybe we, every time I say we're going to chalk it, we have a good conversation come up. And it's good. It's just good content at the end of the day. But listen, you guys got any final thoughts?
Nope.
Anything to take us out with?
Nope.
Oh yeah, little clap. Maybe we just. With that being said, thank you again for listening to another episode of Money Hill, and thank you for listening to our first Money Hill episode with video live on YouTube, of course, right now as you're watching this, and it'll also be on Spotify and Apple Podcasts as well. I really appreciate the support across the board and the activity in the Discord. So go follow us on Twitter at Best3Network and join our Discord, which is in our pinned tweet. Come talk to us, come interact. We love the engagements, and it's always a good time in there. So